Hello, my name is Flemming Christensen, and I'm the author of the new book called The Enneagram and Why Your Blind Type Matters. I have created a training program based on the book, and this video is a part of a little micro training program where I will explain briefly why your blind type and understanding your blind type and working with your blind type actually matters. I will talk a little bit about what's the difference between your primary Enneagram type and your blind type. I'll talk a little bit about how can the blind type actually be used as a key to working a little more deeper with your primary type, and what is the overall benefit of joining a training program like this. So the primary Enneagram type is a collection of patterns that you repeat all the time. It will be patterns in your behavior, in the way that you feel, in your emotions, and the way that you think and have assumptions about things. These patterns, you repeat them so often that we will call it typical. We will call it a type. And a type could also be called a profile, that you have a certain profile, that this is you do it that very often, this is typical for you, this is a role that you play out pretty often meaning many times a day. And in each of the 9 types there are assumptions. So one type could assume that if I stand in my power and I set boundaries and I can decide what has to do with me, then everything will go well. And another type would think, no, if we are connected and we have a great relationship, if we kind of see each other clearly, then things will go well. And another type would think it's all okay, but understanding things deeply and really being very profound and detailed and have all the data ready, then everything will be okay. So each type, each profile has assumptions about if I do this, everything will go okay. And then we do it. And when we do our assumptions, when we live out our assumptions, we feel a lot like, hey, this is me. This is now I feel myself. So I relate to what would be called type 3. And it has a lot to do with achieving, doing, being excellent at something, or reaching goals. And when I do that, I feel a lot like me. And if I would not be allowed to do that, I would feel a little odd, like then what kind of life would this be if I cannot kind of do me and my things? So we actually say that we have an identification or attachment to our type, to our personality. So when we do our assumptions, we feel comfortable, we feel safe. And when we don't do our personality and our assumptions, we feel a little odd. So working with your primary type, you'll actually understand that all your assumptions and all the ways that you do stuff is a little limited. It's kind of one-way thinking, one of the 9 types or one of the 9 perspectives that you are working with. So you can be actually building a larger capacity and set yourself free from your limitations working on your primary type. Your blind Enneagram type would be skills that you don't master, that you don't do, or that you probably even dislike. So if you're blind on type 8, then you don't know how to be in your power. You don't know how to stand tall in yourself. You don't know how to set boundaries. You you don't know how to take responsibility and control or matters that has to do with your life. You don't know how to do it. So your blind type has assumptions about it's not so good doing what is or described in your blind type. And when other people are doing it, it would feel overwhelming. It will feel like not so serious or disconnecting or cold. And it would be like something is missing and you have neglected some of your human skills. So when you work with your blind type, you will actually suddenly integrate new ways of working with your primary type. So the assumptions of your primary type will be softened or adjusted a little bit with your blind type. So suddenly your blind type can be a key working with your primary type. Some of the benefits of joining the training program would be that I will share some resources based on the research I have been doing on the blind Enneagram type. At this point, 400 students have been working with the blind type, and there is now a huge vocabulary per type what it means to have a blind type. You would also feel more empowered working with your primary type, because the limiting assumptions in your primary type will actually be softened a little bit. So you will open up, and I would say you'll become a little more resourceful as in your primary type. Also, you will not spin around so much about your primary type and only read about your primary type, only focus about your primary type, and you will kind of loosen a little bit the caricatures of the primary type, where we can be a little stuck in this is the way I am and this is the way other types are. When you actually see that, hey, I'm related to type 3, but if I was blind on type 8, that would be different compared if I was blind on type 5. So suddenly my primary type can shift the way that I navigate my life depending on my blind type. You will get a bigger understanding for other people that they're not just a type. It's a little more nuanced when we're kind of adding on the blind type to the pattern. And you will build a new vocabulary, a whole new way of speaking. And maybe you already know that when you meet other Enneagram enthusiasts, we certainly have a vocabulary where we can talk about personality, psychology, even relationships, because we understand the Enneagram. But you will actually expand your vocabulary when you also include your blind type. And then you will also understand the hidden structures that is also part of the original teaching. Because originally there was no personality types. We're not talking about types. We're talking about points. We're talking about qualities, human qualities, that each of us have all the 9 points in us. And each of the 9 points have certain qualities that we should all integrate to become a complete human being. That was kind of the phrase of the original teachers. Let's integrate them all and be a complete human being. So thank you for listening to this video. There are 2 more videos and I hope you will enjoy them.